Hashtag askgojiman. I regularly get brain fog. What is likely to be causing it and how do you get rid of it? Great question. Let's get to it. Roll the titles.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Welcome back. It's good to see you all again. If you haven't met before, then hi, I'm GojiMan. I'm currently finishing a Master's in Nutrition and qualifying as a Nutritionist. And next year I'll be studying for a PhD in Nutritional Science. I make vegan health and nutrition videos every single day in which I answer your health questions under the hashtag askgojiman. So if you have a question for me, then hashtag askgojiman in the comments below. Alternatively, you can send your video questions through to contact@gojimannutrition.com. And without further ado, to the question. So brain fog is usually a clear sign that you have underlying inflammation in your body. Now we will jump into the most common causes in a second, but if you struggle on a daily basis and feel your head is full of cotton wool or sand, as many describe it, and if you struggle to remember things or finding the right words, well then this is brain fog. So some really cool geeky GojiMan facts for you. Approximately 20% of all brain cells are what's called microglial cells, and these cells are essentially immune cells. So when you have underlying inflammation in the body, these microglial cells are triggered, inflammation goes up, as does brain fog. So what we need to do is to reduce the inflammation, calm the microglial cells, and by doing so, the brain fog will go away. But before you can do this, you need to find out what's driving the inflammation. So we do this, as I always talk about on this channel, by taking the organic acids test, the SIBO test, and also the comprehensive stool test. Now a quick one on this, I am now in a position to supply these tests, so once I've figured out the best way of integrating them into my website or some other platform, I will give you all access, so watch this space. Now the most common reason for brain fog, other than poor diet, which I will talk about shortly, is gut issues, bacteria and other gut infections, so SIBO, H. pylori, Candida, etc. So these bacteria and infections cause leaky gut or intestinal permeability, which then allow undigested food, chemicals and toxins into the brain, which can then obviously trigger the microglial cells, which in turn then causes spikes in brain fog. So in terms of getting rid of the brain fog, this isn't going to happen until you've cleared out the underlying infection. So this will usually involve antibiotics or herbal antibacterials or antimicrobials in conjunction with short-term dietary modifications. So the next logical source for identifying your brain fog issues away from the gut issues is to look at the dietary component. So are you getting those essential fats and essential fatty acids in your diet that are so vital for brain function? And are you getting a good supply of EPA and DHA in your diet through either marine phytoplankton or other algae? Now another critical component in brain function and also reducing brain fog is getting enough magnesium in your diet. So magnesium has a critical role in hundreds of different enzymatic reactions in the body, many of which occur in the brain, and magnesium is really good at calming your central nervous system, so if you suffer with anxiety, make sure you are getting lots of magnesium rich foods in your diet. Now a really important area for you also to consider in trying to locate your source of your brain fog is to pay particular attention to the foods that trigger it. So keep a food log and keep an eye on foods high in histamines, oxalates, salicylates, sulfur, gluten and also soy. Now these compounds will not normally be an issue unless you have underlying gut issues or unless you are massively overdoing certain foods. So like I said in my oxalate video, which I will link around here somewhere, most people consume around 100 to 200 milligrams of oxalates per day. But just 2 cups of spinach in your smoothie can take your oxalate intake upwards of 2,000 milligrams a day, which is too high for most guts to process over the long term, so make sure you keep an eye on these foods. Next up we have gluten, and if you do have leaky gut, gluten will likely be a big problem for you and feed massively into your brain fog. So when the undigested gluten proteins get into your bloodstream, they can literally go all around the body to the brain and then antagonize the astrocytes, so the blood-brain barrier, and then again trigger that brain fog. Also, if you have underlying gut problems, then histamines can also translate into brain fog type issues. So here think tomatoes and dark chocolate, etc. Now, if you don't have an underlying gut problem, but you regularly treat yourself to junk food and drinks, then another common source of brain fog is artificial sweeteners, preservatives, and also food colorants. Now, many of these are in cytotoxins that will trigger the microglial cells, so obviously I don't recommend eating these foods or drinking these types of drinks, but if you do, just be aware of the strong brain fog link and the negative impact that they can have on your brain. Next up on the list of potential sources of brain fog is your blood sugar levels. Now, your brain runs predominantly on glucose. This is its preferred fuel source. So when you are not giving the brain glucose, such as being on a high fat diet, you get spikes in brain fog. There is also the issue of spiking blood sugars with processed refined sugary foods for some. That will cause the yo-yo of blood sugars, which is really not great for the body in general or for getting rid of brain fog, especially when your insulin levels are high. And the final area that I also want to quickly touch upon are your hormone levels. So if you also have high amounts of stress hormones in the body, such as cortisol and adrenaline, then they can negatively impact on the hippocampus in the brain, which again will cause brain fog. So the biggest takeaway from today's video, if you do have brain fog in conjunction with other problems such as skin issues and gut issues, take the organic acids test, the SIBO test, and also the comprehensive stool test. Look to see what gut bacterial problems you have, fix this, and then usually you will get a massive lift in your brain fog symptoms. If you don't have gut problems, then maybe it's just you're eating too much of a particular type of food that is high in either oxalates, salicylates, or sulfur. But in these cases, you would have to be eating a lot. And remember, when you are fixing any gut issues, just give the gut a helping hand and remove gluten and soy from your diet. So that's the end of today's video. I hope you all really enjoyed. As always, if you have a question for me, then hashtag askgojiman in the comments below. Alternatively, send your video questions through to contact@gojimannutrition.com. And as always, remember to look after your body because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't